Parshas Toldot. The topic is the life of Yitzchak and Rivka. And the topic that Rabbi Farkash posted on the WhatsApp was the miraculous birth of the twins, or the miracle of the birth of the twins. So I wanted to open with a story about twins. As you know, I'm a father of two sets of twins. And just like Rivka said, you know, what was I praying for when I was praying to be pregnant? It's so difficult. So when my wife, Baruch Hashem, we didn't have to wait 20 years like Yitzchak and Rivka, but she was thinking, I think she was thinking the same thing. If this is what pregnancy is, this is hard. But we didn't go to the yeshiva of Shem and Aver. We didn't go to seek an explanation from God. But we had a surprise. We didn't even seek a explanation with a sonogram or trying to find out what's going on. So we were surprised when 5 weeks before the due date, Chaya gave birth to twins. It was a surprise. We found out that we were having twins about 2 or 3 hours before they were born. So that was and of course, any child is a miracle. Having one is a miracle. And having two was a double miracle, especially when you were expecting one. So for 8 months, we were expecting a child, and then we got a second one, just like that, in 2 hours of expectation, and we have a second one. So so I can relate a little bit to Yitzchak and Rivka. The second time around, our twins, we had notice because we were expecting that twins are possible and maybe even likely. And so when the second set of twins were born, it wasn't a surprise. But Yitzchak and Rivka, they were hoping for children. And what's interesting about the wait that they had, that the Torah portion opens with, is that Avraham waited a long time for children, and Sarai could not have children, and only at the age of 90 did she give birth. Avraham at the age of 100 or 99. So being blessed with children, Hashem promised children to Avraham. Not only did he promise children, but he promised that he would have so many children that they would be impossible to count because there were so many, like the stars and like the sand. And then he has no children until finally, at the advanced age, he has a son, Yitzchak. And Yitzchak gets God tells Avram that my blessings to you will be fulfilled through Yitzchak. And then Yitzchak and Rivka again have a long wait for children until finally, instead of having only one child, they have twins. So, they had a blessing for children. a blessing for a lot of children, and yet they had the struggle of a long wait. Will this blessing actually be fulfilled? Interestingly, there was a blessing also that Avraham received from Hashem, that the land of Israel would be his, the land of Canaan. And Avraham comes to the land of Canaan in last week's Parsha, the Parsha before, Lech Lecha, and he comes and he can't live there. So he's blessed with land, and yet the land that when he gets there, there's a famine, and he can't live in the land, and he's forced to leave. And similarly, Yitzchak in this week's Torah portion, he was blessed with the blessings of Avraham. Avraham passed away, and all of those blessings about the land are to be fulfilled through Yitzchak. And again, there's a famine, and Yitzchak has to leave. And not only does he have to leave, he comes to the land of Plishtim, and then they send him away. And he has to fight with he has to fight with the Plishtim, with the Philistines, about the land that he was promised. So I think it's interesting that these blessings, they come with a delay of the actual fulfillment of the blessings, and with a test. Will Avraham and Yitzchak keep their faith in Hashem, even though the promises that were made seem to not be being fulfilled? And ultimately, the blessings are fulfilled, but only after a long wait. I think a lesson from that blessing, yet having to wait and having that struggle until it actually materializes, we have as well. God promised us that he would take us out of exile, that we wouldn't be forgotten. And then a lot of time passes, and we have all kinds of challenges and difficulties. And we are also being tested. Will those promises that God made to us happen? Will we indeed be merit to be brought back from our exile and live in a world of peace and harmony, and be reunited and have Mashiach? We've been waiting a long time. But we learned from Avraham and Yitzchak that sometimes the blessings, even if they don't happen right away, we've been waiting a long time, not to lose the faith that those blessings will be fulfilled, God willing, very soon, in our lifetime. So about the miracle of the birth, I think that I don't think I have much else to say about the miracle of the twins. I'm not sure what Rabbi Farkash had in mind. But we'll talk a little bit about the twins and about the digging of wells. In this week's Torah portion, I think the main theme is Yaakov and Esav being born, and the struggles that Yitzchak had with the wells. So let's start with the wells. In the Torah portion, we read about, and if you have a Chumash in front of you, I'll pull up the verses that we're talking about. So we're in Parshas Toldot. In chapter 26. Chapter 26, from verse 13, or actually a little earlier, from well, the second half of the chapter, of chapter 26, after the story of Avimelech, being surprised that Rivka is indeed Yitzchak's wife, and being a little smarter than his predecessor in the days of Avraham, when he took away Avraham's wife, Sarai, only to find out later that he was in big trouble. So Avimelech spies on Yitzchak and Rivka, and he finds out that they're indeed married, and he tells his people that nobody should dare come close to Yitzchak and Rivka. Be very careful, don't mess with them. And so the first thing is he tells him nobody bother Yitzchak and Rivka. Then when Yitzchak is very successful, he plants a lot of he plants the field, and it was a bad year, was a year of hunger, and nonetheless 100 times more than the estimated amount of produce grew. So he became very wealthy. Avimelech comes to Yitzchak and he says, I want you to leave. You've become so successful. You're much stronger than we are. You're much richer than we are. We're jealous. We don't want you to stay here anymore. So Yitzchak leaves, and so that's the second step. The first one is stay here, nobody bother him. Then the next step is you're too successful, please leave. And then later, we read about the wells that Yitzchak's servants dig, because the Plishtim had stuffed the wells that Avraham dug. So Yitzchak is redigging the wells, and then the Plishtim are filling them up with dirt. It happens once, it happens twice. And finally, the third one, they dig water, and there's no fight about it, and they leave him alone. The third part, where he deals with the Plishtim, is where after he leaves the Plishtim, Avimelech, hearing about how great Yitzchak is doing, he comes to visit Yitzchak, and Yitzchak asks him, why are you coming to visit me when you didn't want me to stay with you? You sent me away. Why are you coming now? And he says, I wanted to make a peace treaty because I see how successful you are. So, we didn't hurt you. We sent you away, but now he's coming back and says, I want to make a peace treaty. But the story with the wells, there's a lot of talk about digging wells. What's the digging wells, on a simple level, was resources. As you know, in the Western United States right now, not so much in Washington, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of rain, but in other parts of the West, there is a drought. It's been going on for a long time, and I'm sure that you all are aware, heard about the news of the drought. And water, even today, is a resource that's very important for the economy. Without water, you can't have anything. Nothing works. Everything dies without water. So we can relate a little bit to this need for water. And if you have water, then you can become very rich. You can water the crops. You have water for your animals. So water, we understand, is something that we need for parnasa. We need it for a livelihood. But why would the Torah be talking to us so much about digging wells and finding water? It seems to be a nice story, about water, that, water is important, but why so much talk about digging wells? And from the life of Yitzchak, we don't know very much. Avram's life, we have more information, but from Yitzchak's life, we know about the marriage and the blessings and the digging wells. So what's with the digging of the wells? It's so important that it's part of our, it's part of the Torah, and that we have to learn about it thousands of years later. What does digging wells mean to us? The one interpretation is water is a resource that is found, it's found everywhere. But sometimes you come to a piece of land and on the surface, it's a desert. There's no water, nothing grows, as in the south of Israel. In that area, and knowing that deep down underneath there is water, and to strive to reach the water, to dig deep to find the water, is the service of Yitzchak. What does that mean? Every person has deep down treasures that are very valuable. The godly energy, the godly spark, the good that's in every person. And sometimes you look at somebody on the outside, their behavior is not good. The behavior is a desert. The behavior is dry, lacks the the goodness, lacks the godliness, and a person can look like a desert. Yitzchak sees a desert and he doesn't stop there, but he digs and digs until he finds the water. He knows and believes that there is water to find. He has that faith that deep down there is something good, and it's only a matter of digging deep enough to bring that good to the surface. And that's something which we can take a lesson from as well, knowing that deep down we all have that godly soul and the godly spark, the godly energy which is selfless and which is good. And what we need to do when we see somebody who on the outside seems like they don't have anything good about them, we have a job to do to reveal the water by digging deep. And if you don't find any water, dig deeper yet. And eventually, in every person, if you dig deep enough, you can find that water. And this idea of digging deep and finding the good in everyone is something which brings us back to Yaakov and Esav. So the twins, Yaakov and Esav, they were quite different, and they were different before they were even born. In the beginning of the Parsha, Rivka is troubled because of the difficult pregnancy. And the commentators explain that Rivka wasn't just complaining about being nauseous and having morning sickness and having a lot of kicking going on, but Rashi quotes the Medrash that she sensed that the child, which she thought was one child, was pulling in toward holiness, and on the other hand, pulling towards the opposite of holiness. When they were born, they were indeed two very, very different kinds of people, and that's how they're described as soon as they're born. That Yaakov is a simple one, and Esav, as soon as he's born, he's described as being red and having a lot of hair. And then as they grow up, the Torah describes Esav as one who knows how to hunt and being a man of the field, Yitzchak being a man of the tent, Yaakov being a man of the tent. So they start out very different. And Yitzchak wants to give the blessings to Esav, which is very strange. Why does he want to give the blessings to Esav? So if we go back to the wells, that service that Yitzchak did of digging wells, finding the good buried down, deep down in every person, we can see how Yitzchak might say, Yaakov is doing fine on his own. Yaakov, there's water right at the surface. Everything is great. He doesn't need any work. But what about Esav? Esav needs some digging. So Yitzchak wanted to reveal the good that was in Esav and bring that out to the surface. And one of the ways of digging and revealing that good in Esav would be by giving him the blessings, to bring out the potential, the good potential that Esav has. For some reason, I feel like I gave a class, maybe it was last year, or maybe it was a few years ago, substituting for this Parsha, for Parshas Toldot, talking about Yitzchak and Yaakov and Esav. Does anybody recall that? No? No? So, in Chassidus, in the Tanya, which Dennis and David can tell you more about, right? In our Tanya learning, the Alter Rebbe talks about Yitzchak's two children, Yaakov and Esav, and explains that there are two kinds of ways of service to Hashem. There are two types of people, two types of service. Sound familiar? The one type.
Volunteer.
So one type of service is sweet, and one is spicy or hot, sour. It's there are two kinds of things that taste good. There's the sweet, the things that are naturally tasty and sweet, and that which starts off sour and bitter and hot, and hot peppers, I don't know, chili, things that you can turn them into something tasty, if you prepare it right. Similarly, in our service to Hashem, there are two types of Jews. There's the Yaakov type and the Esav type. The Yaakov type doesn't struggle. In the Tanya, called the Tzaddik, there's no animalistic nature that's fighting. There's just a very pure, holy, godly soul that is motivating and that is directing the person's behavior. And then there is the rest of us, 99%, probably 99.9, that are the Esav type. What's the Esav type? We have struggles. We have an animal soul, an animalistic nature that has urges to do that which is selfish, that which is pleasurable but selfish. And the Esav personality and the Esav type of person, and the Alter Rebbe's terminology, is called the Beinani, the intermediate one, or the Rasha, the wicked one, or the Beinani. The Esav doesn't have to turn out bad. The Esav is only a life of struggle, a life of challenge that is nonstop. Every day, the Esav type wakes up, and the animal soul is not interested in pursuing godly matters and mitzvahs and Torah. The Esav has an urge to be animalistic. I'm hungry. I want to have fun. All kinds of animalistic traits. And the Esav personality is not bad. The Esav has the potential to be just as delicious and even more delicious than the Yaakov type of service. Yaakov service is everything is straightforward, only mitzvahs, only good deeds. There is no obstacles. The Esav personality is struggling and overcoming the challenge every day and every moment. On the one hand, I want to have fun. On the other hand, I want to do what's right. And every time that I have this urge to do something that is animalistic, I need to fight with this urge. And I need to say, no, I am not going to, behave in that way. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do what Hashem wants. And that struggle is something which Hashem appreciates. So Yaakov is appreciated, the Tzaddik is appreciated, but so is Esav, if Esav chooses to act like Yaakov. If Esav overcomes the Esav inclination, the evil inclination, the animalistic inclination, and Esav acts in the right way, speaks in the right way, does the right things, then Esav's service is even better in a way than Yaakov's service. Yaakov's service is a given. It's easy. Esav's service is when Esav does the right thing, it's so much more difficult and so much more appreciated to overcome the challenges and to make the right choices and make good choices. So when Yitzchak calls Esav and tells Esav I want you to prepare a meal for me before I give you the blessings. He tells them that I want you to prepare mat'amim. He tells them I want you to prepare tasty food, but he uses the plural mat'amim. Mat'amim is tasty foods in plural. Now, Yitzchak was a holy man. Yitzchak was one of our patriarchs. He was somebody that his whole life was about serving Hashem. Why is Yitzchak asking Esav, prepare some good food for me, and then I'll give you blessings? What's even a simple person, not as great as Yitzchak, if you're hungry and you want a good meal, you can ask, can you please prepare dinner for me? I need your help. Can you cook something up for dinner? To say, can you prepare some really delicious things like I like, the kind of food that I really like, can you prepare that food? Even a regular person doesn't usually talk in such a way. Yitzchak, being a great tzaddik, to be focused so much on the delicious food, it doesn't seem appropriate. Especially the way that Yitzchak connects the food with the blessings. Now, if you want good food, okay, you want good food. He said, give me good food so that I'll give you the blessings. The blessings are a big deal. They're giving over this massive dose of energy, of flow of godly energy and blessings and potential that are being given, and to tie that to a good food, to a delicious meal, that's something which somebody who has the power to give blessings obviously wouldn't be interested in such mundane things, and to connect it to food, to connect it to tasty food. A strange story. But when we appreciate that the food that Yitzchak is talking about is not literal food as well, but what he's primarily talking about is, can you prepare tasty food, not sweet food that's just good, straightforward, but can you take that animal soul that you have, take all of that passion that you have about materialistic matters, all of those cravings that are for worldly matters, that fire that you have, that animal that you have that's so bitter and so sour, and take it and make it to be delicious, make it to be sweet. Can you make matamim? Can you take those sour, spicy, not such good traits that you have, and make them to make your service to Hashem to be even tastier, because you overcome the challenges and you serve Hashem despite all the hardships. In fact, the hardships themselves and the distance that the animal soul has can cause the passion and desire to be close to Hashem to be even more powerful than if they weren't there. The tzaddik loves Hashem, but is always close to Hashem. So the desire to be close to God is static. It's the same. It's always there. That he always feels close to Hashem, and It's good, but it's nice and steady. Whereas the Esav personality that has animalistic desires and has to overcome all kinds of challenges, when an Esav reaches out to become close to Hashem, there is that extra passion because he's coming from such a distant place. When when two friends or partners are close to each other, that partners that love each other, friends that love each other, that are close to each other, they have a feeling of love. But when close friends or husband and wife or people that love each other are separated from each other and are far away, then the desire to be close, the passion to want to be close, is even stronger because of the distance. Because you can't get to be close and you want to be close, that fire and that desire to be close is even stronger. So an Esav type of person can actually have a stronger passion than a Yaakov, can have a greater love for Hashem than a Yaakov has, can have a stronger passion to be close. But even more than the passion, it's about transforming the world. If we are all the children of Yitzchak, we are all Yaakovs and Esavs, we all are trying to turn the world into a home for Hashem and transform every aspect of the world to be holy and to make it a home for Hashem. Yaakov can do that on a small scale because Yaakov doesn't really get involved with the world. He doesn't have an animal soul to transform. But somebody who's involved in worldly matters, somebody that's a man of the field, like Esav, is out there in the world, deals with an animal soul, deals with the challenges of the world, can engage the world and transform the world and make the world to be a home for God. Staying home like Yaakov, staying in the synagogue, staying in the library, and reading books and praying is powerful, but it's limited in what it can elevate as far as elevating the world. After all, the mission that we are all here for, starting with Avraham and Yitzchak, all the way till the present day, is to transform the world, to elevate the world. In order to get out to the world, you can't be a man of the tent that is sitting in the tent and studying in the yeshiva. You have to get out there in the world and be part of it in order to elevate it. So Esav is the one that deserves the blessings, that needs the blessings, because he needs to elevate the world. He's the one that goes out there into the field. He's the one that has an animal soul, and he's the one that can go and elevate that and make that holy, make the world holy, make the world to be a home for Hashem. So Yitzchak, seeing that potential that Esav has, that even though right now his behavior is not good, but deep down Esav has that potential to be great. He tries to dig to find that water, to dig the well, to find the water. And Yitzchak is about to give the blessings to Esav. The question only is, why does Rivka interfere with this plan? And why do Why does Yaakov end up getting the blessings? And why does Yitzchak, after realizing that he gave the blessings to the wrong person, not say, okay, I take it back? As Rivka feared, as Yaakov feared, he said, if Yitzchak would realize what I'm doing, he might curse me. Why does Yitzchak then tell Esav, I'm sorry, I gave away the brachas, I don't have anything left for you? So, although Esav had this potential, Rivka, having come from a place of wicked people, having come from a house where her brother was Lavan and her father was Nachar, Besual, I'm sorry, coming from a family where they were relatives, they were cousins, a brother of Abraham, cousins of Yitzchak, and she recognized that Esav's behavior, although in theory there was the potential for that to be used in the proper way, having seen Lavan and having seen Besuel and the rest of the family, she also knew that there's no guarantee that that will happen. And the opposite, Esav is likely to take that blessing, to take the blessing that she gets from Yitzchak, and instead of using it to overcome his challenges, to use those blessings, to use the wealth and the power to go deeper into his animalistic ways and go even further in the negative path. Rivka, however, sees potential in Yaakov to go out to the world. So Rivka tells Yaakov, I want you to wear Esav's garments. I want you to put on Esav's clothing. Yitzchak, Esav had garments that he would use for hunting, that he would use for, the Medrash says that these were garments that he had stolen from Nimrod. These were garments that were out there in the world. They were garments that represented the outside world. And although Yaakov was so simple and so holy and so straightforward and such a tzaddik, she asks Yaakov to put on Esav's garments. Putting on Esav's garments is to have the hands of Esav, as Yitzchak that later says, the voice is the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esav. Esav's hands means that he's able to engage with the world and not stay in the bubble of the yeshiva and of the shul. He's able to go out there and engage with the world, to elevate the world. And Yaakov demonstrates this even further by going to his father and disguising himself as Esav. That's a trick that only Esav can pull off. To go and to pretend to be somebody else, to go and to play tricks. That's something which Yitzchak didn't think Yaakov was capable of. To get out there in the world and deal with the a world that sometimes requires that you go out of the shul and you go out of the yeshiva, and you that kind of behavior, that's an Esav behavior. So when Yitzchak demonstrates when Yaakov demonstrates that he's able to be sly like Esav, he's able to pretend to be Esav. Yitzchak, although he suspects that it's Yaakov when he says the voice is the voice of Yaakov and the hands are the hands of Esav, Yitzchak could have said, wait here just a moment. I'm going to wait till my other son comes. I'm going to call Rivka. We'll have an investigation to find out who you really are. Right? I suspect that you're Yaakov, but your hands feel like Esav's hands, so I'm not sure. Let's hold off on the blessings. We'll wait a couple minutes. Let me investigate. Let me call my other son. Let me call Rivka. Let me call some other neighbors. We'll get to the bottom of this, of why Esav sounds like Yaakov. But instead of making an investigation to find out who this really is, Yaakov is, Yitzchak is ready to go and give the blessings. When Yitzchak realizes that this person who's in front of him, whoever it is, whether it's Esav or it's Yaakov, has the potential. If it's Esav, okay. And if it's Yaakov, that Yaakov has the ability to dress up like Esav, to get out into the world and to elevate the world, to engage the world, and to make the world to be a holy place, not just to stay in a bubble, then whoever this is worthy of getting the blessings. So he gives the blessings with all his heart. So that's why when Esav comes, Esav, says, okay, I'm here. Yaakov doesn't say, I regret giving the blessings to whoever I gave it to. He says, who was that? Let him be blessed. The one that I just gave the blessings to, let him be blessed. Right? So he shows that he has no regrets for giving Yaakov the blessings. And when he realizes that Yaakov is indeed capable of getting out there in the world, he's very happy that he had the opportunity to give the blessings to Yaakov. And when Esav says, can you give me a bracha too? He says, I'm sorry. I am not excited about giving you a bracha anymore. As long as you were the only one that was able to get out there in the world, then I was hoping that the brachas would help you. But now that I see that Yaakov is capable of not just being Yaakov, but also being an Esav, then I'm very happy that I gave him the brachas, and I want to risk it with giving Esav the brachas now. The idea that Yaakov can also be Esav, that Yaakov can have the voice of Yaakov and the hands of Esav, Yaakov passed on both of these types to his descendants. So some of Yaakov's children were more of the voice of Yaakov and the hands of Yaakov type. Some of them got the hands of Esav. Some of us have to deal with an animal soul that's very powerful, that's a strong Esav. Yet we inherited from Yaakov the blessings that he got from Yitzchak to overcome the challenges and to do both jobs, to do the job of Yaakov and to do the job of Esav. To be a tzaddik, but also to be dealing with a potential Russia and to turn him into what the Alter Rebbe and the Tanya calls the Beinoni, one who is challenged every day, challenged every moment, has that Esav nature, the Esav body, but to resist the temptation and to overcome the challenges and to prepare that very tasty food, the sour, bitter, spicy, delicious food that we can only do because we have that animalistic nature. I wanted to mention that last last Shabbos, I was in New York. I had the opportunity to see family and friends and meet up with other shluchim. And we had the shluchim convention, which was really, really something very special, especially this year after last year having no convention because of Corona. And this year, we weren't sure if it would happen. And Baruch Hashem, it was a beautiful convention. Really felt like we can overcome the challenges of Corona. The regular conventions that we had up until this year, they were always enjoyable. Nice to get together with colleagues that are all over the world. But this year was especially sweet, having come after a year and a half of separation, a year and a half of social distancing and dealing with challenges. The unity that comes after being separated is so much more valued and appreciated. And similarly, the redemption and the ingathering of the exiles, the time of Mashiach, when the world will be at peace and in harmony in a world of plenty, will be appreciated so much more, having come after our very long exile, being in the darkness that we experience in exile, and the last darkness of the pandemic, with all the challenges, will make us appreciate so much more when we overcome it with the coming of Mashiach. So I want to conclude with the wish that we should all see those blessings, the blessings that Yitzchak gave Yaakov, the blessings of plenty in all areas of life, our wealth, our health, nachas, and unity and friendship and success in all areas, and culminating with like we read in the prophets that in the time of Mashiach we will have transformed Esav himself, not only doing the work of Esav, but transforming the world and transforming even Esav, and revealing the good in every aspect of the world, even in Esav, and finding the water, redigging those wells and finding the water everywhere. And may it be speedily in our days. Amen. Thank you. And so nice to see you. I really look forward to the days when we'll be able to have the classes in person after the pandemic is gone. But now coming back from the convention, it feels like it's really possible. Feels like there's light at the end of the tunnel. We'll be there someday. We'll hold on and we'll get there.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Chodesh
You're
Tov.
very welcome.
Tomorrow's a Chodesh.
Yes. Chodesh Kislev coming up.
Tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow night, Rosh Chodesh Kislev.
Thank you, Rabbi Shalom.
Friday is Rosh Chodesh. I
Right.
wanted to mention that if anybody is able to come for the minyan in the morning for Rosh Chodesh on Friday, we're going to really try to have a minyan.
What time?
On the WhatsApp, Rabbi Farkash will post what time, but we're gonna go for it. Rosh Chodesh, we always try to have a minyan, even if we can't have it every day.
Rabbi Farkash will be on Rosh Chodesh.
Yes, I'll be back. He's should be back tomorrow morning. Laila Tov.
חזק וברוך.
לילה טוב, רבי.
טוב.
להתראות.